Hello. We have got a special programme for you where I get to share some of the things we can do in the garden when days are shorter. Plus, also, it's a little cold and some of us are avoiding going outside that back door. Today, with Buster and Ash, we'll be getting our hands dirty and we're going to share some beautiful plants and some wonderful gardens to inspire you. Coming up on today's programme, Carol opens the gates to a secret garden that's never been seen by the public before, in the grounds of historic Bowood House.
Look at this. Doesn't it just wake you up? These zingy colours. Isn't it absolutely glorious?
We meet a couple who have been completely carried away by one of winter's most iconic flowers.
It has become an addiction, and I have no hope of ever recovering.
Jamie visits a garden that was transformed from an empty field into a spectacular vista of perennials and grasses.
The big part is accepting the chaos and fluidity of the self-seeding plants, and that makes this an ever-changing feast.
We meet a passionate houseplant enthusiast who is besotted by begonias.
In the house, there's 8 large terrariums. As regard to plants, there's over 2,000. It's sort of taken over, but in a nice way.
And Rekha travels to a very special allotment site in Sheffield, with community at its very heart.
That's the difference between an allotment and a garden. An allotment is a community of gardeners who learn from each other, who share with each other, and particularly this site where we have such a great community spirit.
We are now at the top of my garden, and it's the last area I put in, sort of shady little dell that you can wander through. And what I've been doing is I've been lifting the canopies on these medlars so I could then create this underplanting. And then that was all about covering the ground, shape, form, texture, and it feels good now. And I think if you've got a dark area or even on colder, shorter days, using the colour white just to pop in the light is incredible. So what I want to do now is add these hellebores. Look at that, hey? That hellebore is absolutely stunning. It stopped me in my tracks in the garden centre. And I had 3 of them straight away in the basket. First thing to say about it, it flowers from October through to spring. It's part of the winter ballet series, and it's called Lausanne, and it's a cross between Niger and Orientalis. So, let's get these in. When it comes to soil, well, thinking really good woodland soil. This has had composted bark and manure probably over about 3 years, so there's now becoming a richness. Obviously, the roots are all really good. And what's nice about the flower, as they mature, they go green. So again, just that interest changes, and you've got those really sort of strong architectural leaves. They make those flowers sing, you know? These plants will take shade, semi-shade, and some people will put them in the sun, which is fine, but actually then you're going to need a lot of moisture in that ground. But for me, I always think about them as a little woodland beauty. So let's get this other one in. I look at those hellebores that I've planted. I always think about them as a plant that will carry me through the winter into spring, you know. But if there was one plant that I would say says the new season is on the way, it's got to be snowdrops. And we all know that they can suck people in. Well, now we're off to Leicestershire to meet Janet and Andrew, who I would say have totally and utterly fallen in love with those plants.
It has become an addiction, and I have no hope of ever recovering. Got completely carried away, I suppose. Is that the case, do you think, Andrew?
Completely.
Yeah, I got completely carried away. In the last 12 to 15 years, I've started a collection of snowdrops, and I should imagine some people probably will call me a galanthophile, which means a collector of snowdrops. Well, this is the delightful Wendy's Gold. Now, this is the very first snowdrop that I purchased in 2012, and it probably cost me a whole £15, which is quite a large amount of money to pay. It's a delightful colour, with a lovely yellow. So the ovary is yellow, and the inner is a lovely yellow as well. The reason I went down that terrible slippery slope to becoming a galanthophile is when you have little treasures like this popping up all the time, in all different combinations, what isn't there to love about them, especially in February? I have between 350 to 400 different types, which all seem to be doing very nicely on my north-facing winter slope.
Over a number of years, I built all the terraces. We started before my wife was a galanthophile, and unfortunately, I think I made the perfect environment for her to become one.
Thank you. Probably a layman would think one snowdrop would look much the same as any other snowdrop, but on closer inspection, you will find a complete variation between different snowdrops. This one is Wasp, and it's quite a demure snowdrop in the ground, quite tiny. Then we go along to the second one, which is Diggory, and this is a charming snowdrop. It's got crinkly petals, and it looks like a pixie cap, and it's quite sort of substantial in the garden, and everybody notices its shape. Then we go along to the third one, which is Veronica Cross, and she's got the most lovely markings on the petals on the outside, with a lovely green inner. And then we go along to my most favourite snowdrop, which is Treasure Island. And the reason I like this one most of all is the intensity of yellow. The yellow on the ovary and the yellow on the inner, but they're clearly not all yellow, as the petals are white. But it does look stunning, and it is my favourite. In this little pot, we have what's known as the common Nivalis single snowdrop. This snowdrop is prolific in this country, and it grows in woodlands, ditches, all over the place. It just looks stunning, and it's just so pure and simple.
This is one of my favourite snowdrops called Galanthus grumpy, and the reason why it's called grumpy is because of this lovely little face that it has. You can see the downturned mouth and the two distinct eyes. When we have children in the garden, it's very nice to ask them to see if they can go and find Grumpy. And when we do that, they go running around looking for this snowdrop.
In this pot, we've got Nivalis floriplino, which is a full double snowdrop. And to appreciate this snowdrop, you really need to have a little look inside, because it's a fully double. Very pretty. You can plant snowdrops any time of the year. You plant in the green. You can also buy bulbs from specialists in the summertime. When I plant one, I always put some gravel in the bottom of the hole, And always mix some leaf mould and then top dress it again with some more leaf mould and a little bit of grit around the top. If there's a clump that is not flowering particularly well, I will then earmark that one for a lifting, and then I will divide it. This is a very good way of increasing my stock of that particular snowdrop. I do deadhead, and the reasoning for it is because we're on the slopes, the seed heads would just roll down the banks and plonk themselves any old where, and I just don't want the rest of my collection contaminated with a different bulb. So once they're all deadheaded, and then the dieback procedure starts, which means that the leaves will start to open outwards as they decay, I always top dress at that point the whole plant in the middle, and that is to stop the narcissus fly getting in. Every galanthophile's dread is a narcissus fly, and so they come in April, May, June and lay the eggs in the middle where they reside for the winter and grow and eat your bulb collection, and you don't know anything about it till the next spring. It makes a, shall I do it? It makes a really high-pitched buzz. You can cut that out, though. A really nice snowdrop is Percy Picton. It has an exceptionally long pedicel, which droops over with the drop hanging off, and it just looks like a fishing rod. The leaves are dark green with a silver stripe just down the middle. The snowdrop is very easy to grow and particularly likes the shade. Walrus is quite a quirky-looking snowdrop. You either love it or hate it. It's a double snowdrop, and the inners have got splashes of green on the ends. The outers are very thin and spiky. This snowdrop particularly likes being planted under a shrub in amongst the roots. It keeps it a little bit drier, I think. Midas is a particularly pretty, dainty, compact little snowdrop. It grows really well in my garden and multiplies nicely. It has lovely markings at the end of the petals, which can change colour from green to yellow, particularly if it's in the sunshine. Just makes my heart sing. It's so pretty, so wonderful, and so evocative of British winter.
What are we doing, mate? What are we doing? It still blows my mind how many different snowdrops there are. And the grumpy one did make me smile. Right, now, for a plant, happy in the winter, shady little spot maybe, to one that will deal with a baking summer and has become a dog bed on a sunny day. This one, honestly, I'm going to move you off. There we go, young man. You go and play. It was a green roof that I put on top of a log store about 12 months ago. It's like a wooden tray. It's lined out to make it waterproof, so really with a pond liner. And then on top of that, there's like a plastic, think about an egg box, you know, turned upside down. That sort of creates the drainage. On top of that is a real gritty mix that contains peat-free compost. You can see where it's done really, really well and where it's suffered. It's had to deal with a really hot summer. So what I want to do is just do a couple of little repairs. If I just take those bits, see, they're good living bits, so I'm going to save those there. If I just take out a lump like that, and then I can just refresh. I'm repairing it for you, son, don't worry. So once I've cut out that little area, what I'm going to do is use the bits that I saved from when I actually did the roof, and then just work that back in there. So that then will settle down over the winter, be fine. But another way of doing it, I take this little bit out here, that bit of lead, And I'm not going to go quite so deep this time. And if I find, there you go, look at that. So that bit was just hanging over the edge. I've got some roots just there. So if I now just work that into the space, but what I am going to do is then just a tiny bit of compost just to make sure that there's really good contact. And what'll happen, a little shower of rain, and that will just settle that in. And it'll probably get its roots in over the next few weeks. And then in the summer, it will start covering that space. If we approve, you can see them, can't you? Next summer, laid out, enjoying the sunshine. Now, last July, Carol got a real exclusive and a good old nosy around a wonderful walled garden just before it was about to open its doors to the public.
I'm in for a real treat today. I've come to Bowood House in Wiltshire. The house has stood here since the mid-18th century, but during the last 50 years, visitors have been able to enjoy the grounds, the house and all the gardens. But in all that time, visitors haven't been able to enjoy one of Bowood's best kept secrets. For the first time in 270 years, this huge 4-acre walled garden that only the owners of the house and the gardeners have seen has been opened for us to enjoy. Isn't it absolutely glorious? The driving idea behind all the borders within this walled garden is that they should provide succession of interest and excitement right the way through, from early spring right through to late autumn. One of the standout features along this border are these great big spheres of euphorbia. Euphorbia serraticarpa, masses and masses of these tiny little flowers, each with its own bracts or cyathium leaves. And I'll bet, like so many of these late-flowering euphorbias, it's going to have glorious autumn colour after it's thrown its seeds all over the borders and the flowers have faded. And then I've got Verbascum Chatsii album in my garden, and I might get 2 or 3 spikes. But here, it's utterly glorious. There must be dozens of spikes. And that's probably because, quite apart from the skill of the gardeners, the soil here suits it perfectly. It's light and sandy. There are lots of plants here that are very familiar. Straightforward hydrangeas, dahlias, but then there is the unusual too. This gorgeous evergreen shrub, Bupleurum fruticosum, with hardly flowers, just these heads of limey green. And although this Bupleurum fruticosum is evergreen, here in the spring they cut it down to about half its height because it's beginning to look tatty. And it looks pretty awful straight after it's been pruned. But oh boy, is it worth it. Look at it now. There's a dahlia, but not any old dahlia. A dahlia which is white, repeating this theme. But look at the centre of it, the green. It's just the perfect dahlia for this situation. And not only is it flowering now, it will continue to flower right the way through until the frosts. And they don't lift the dahlias at all, because in this sandy soil, they can just be allowed to die down and up they'll come the following spring. And then, here and there, throughout the borders, are dotted these annuals that just fit perfectly. So Nicotiana here in white also comes in lime green, but then there is a lime green Nicotiana here. It's Langsdorffii, this time with differently shaped flowers, long tubular bells, extremely elegant. The man in charge of looking after this space is David Glass, the head gardener. However, when he started here 20 years ago, his gardening knowledge and passion for plants was, let's say, minimal.
I came here 19 years ago. It wasn't my first career. I started off as a farmer, working on a neighbouring farm. I sort of realised that actually doing weeding for the same amount that I'd be paid to milk cows, I realised that actually I think I prefer weeding than milking the cows.
Everything looks absolutely brilliant at the moment, but I'm sure it looks good every season. Succession is vital, isn't it?
So that is key, really. We're looking for plants that can give us a little bit extra. So they might have great foliage, they might have great flowers.
They might have both.
They might have both, and if you have autumn colour as well, then we've got everything.
I describe these borders as mixed borders.
Yeah, totally mixed borders. So we've got the shrubs, which give the structure, and then we can add in the herbaceous plants, and then also add in the annuals as well, because I think it's important on a mixed border to have the annuals in as well, because they gap fill. And also annuals tend to flower for a longer period of time, and that can often take us right on into the autumn.
What's the most important jobs in these borders?
Right now, it's deadheading. If we can keep up together with the deadheading, we'll get more blooms. They'll flower right on into the autumn, just stretch out the season as best as possible.
Look at this. Doesn't it just wake you up? This is the hot border on the south side of the walled garden. Look at these zingy colours. The same theme applies. It's all about succession. It's all about creating as much colour as possible for as long a period as possible. So, how about that? You couldn't get anything much more jazzy than that, could you? These brilliant flat heads of the Achillea gold plate against this cotinus. And the cotinus is especially good because here, they cut it back to about here during the spring, sort of pollarded. And then all that new growth comes up. So it's full of vim and vigour. The leaves are bigger, the colour's better. It's just beautiful. Here's Rudbeckia goldstone with these brilliant yellow flowers. Whereas that Rudbeckia is a perennial, this is an annual. It's one called Cherry Brandy, and it would have been started from seed in January or February. And look what splendid plants it's made. And it's just beginning to flower with these gorgeous sort of mahogany, almost velvety flowers. So this was grown from seed, but so too was this Rechinus. These glorious big palmate leaves. It's the castor oil plant, Rechinus communis. So foliage is just as important as flowers in these borders. It's wonderful to think that this walled garden, which for centuries could only be appreciated by a few people, can now be enjoyed by absolutely everyone.
What a place. I have definitely got to go there. But to think, a 4-acre garden that would originally been working, growing food and providing for the house, and now that is absolutely stacked out with flowering plants. Think about it though, both of those things, food, habitat, all important to our birds, like these are. How's that, mate? It's been like my shadow today, haven't you? Good lad. Now, over the last 45 years, we have lost 60% of our house sparrows. Think about that. When I was a kid, they literally seemed the most common bird around. But that drove me to put an awful lot of work into what I think is quite a beautiful bird box. Sparrows love living in communities, so you've got this little des res, wonderful terrace, but the only thing I've seen fly in and out have been blue tits. And this is the moment that we find out if my hard work has been worth it. Oh, wow. No, Bus, no, have a look, mate, have a look. I don't think it has been the sparrows. I think it's the blue tits that have nested, but I'll take that. Hey, mate, what do you think? When it comes to cleaning them out, we're looking really to not touch anything to back end of September at the earliest, even sort of October time. But make sure you do it by the end of January, because it's against the law to disturb nesting birds after that. And when it comes to cleaning, I think the first thing is just to get in there, loosen off the old nests, and then I'm just going to take these out, bits and pieces. If anybody has kept chickens, they will know how important it is to clean out their houses so you don't end up with mites and other little naughties. Now we've sort of roughly cleaned it out, I'm just going to give it a tiny tap. So now I've done that, I'm actually just, first of all, I'm going to use the watering can and I'm going to put some water in each one. Whoop. I thought you'd like that bit. It just gives me a chance to really have a good old scrub around. Oh, you like this now, don't you, eh? You don't want detergent or anything like that. Yeah. There. So let's just tip all these out now. I think that's pretty good. One last thing. I'm just going to pour boiling water over all of the insides, and then that will just guarantee you that you're going to get rid of any nasties. Then I will let it dry out totally and then put it back up. But also remember, if you're adding something like this, it's not always just about the nesting. Sometimes birds just like to get out of the bad weather. So maybe a little bit of hay, some shavings, just sprinkled in the bottom. Things like this can play a huge part in helping our feathered friends. And we know they definitely need it. There's something magical about creating a garden and then being joined by wildlife. But there was something here. Imagine if you had a complete blank canvas, no garden before, what you could do. Well, Jamie went and met a gardener that has done exactly that.
Choosing what plants to put in your garden can be pretty overwhelming, especially when you're creating a garden from scratch. As a plantsman, one of the things I love to celebrate the most is when people just give it a go and play with different colour combinations and textures, working with their local conditions to see what plants work best in their space, and ultimately not being afraid to get it wrong. So I'm really excited to come to Bury St Edmunds in Suffolk to meet Alice Ward Thomas, who, after being given a small financial gift, did exactly that. Alice, it's so lovely to meet you. Can you tell me a little bit about how this came to happen?
Yeah, sure. My godfather, Roger Gibbs, who sadly died in 2018, and left me a lovely gift of £5,000, and I decided to spend it on plants.
So this is Roger's legacy, as such, I guess.
Yeah.
And he's enabled this to happen.
Absolutely. I've always been interested in the new perennial movement style.
And I guess that's a much more relaxed prairie style of perennial planting, using the same plants you'd normally see in a herbaceous border, but put them together in a slightly different way.
Yeah, absolutely, just keeping everything very relaxed and naturalistic. We started it in 2022,
Oh, so not long ago then?
So not long ago, no, it's in its 3rd year this summer.
How did you go about taking what was essentially just a field and turning it into this incredible space?
We set about planning the shape of it, which I did with just getting on a lawnmower.
Okay.
And I knew I wanted it roughly in this sort of kidney shape. And then half the budget went on 70 cubic litres of
Blimey.
recycled green waste. And we spread that and then waited until the autumn of 2022. That's when I started planting. I want it to be an immersive experience. You know, come late summer, you're walking through the middle of the plants and they're really, you know, some up above the head. Yeah. So I did tall, medium, short, and in terms of when they flower. I tried to avoid having sort of clashing colours, but kind of wanted to focus on all the different greens and the different leaf shapes and the, you know, forms of the plants. Yeah. Someone said to me that you need to take a photograph of a garden in black and white, and if it still looks good in that, then you're on the right track.
Have you started to see over the last few years the garden start to change and evolve naturally as well?
Absolutely. Things, you know, are starting to self-seed, they're starting to spread, some things are starting to be slightly thuggish, and I'm having to reduce their enthusiasm. But it's been a real learning curve.
It's genuinely stunning. I love it. And I'm sure your godfather, Roger, would absolutely adore it as well.
I really hope so.
Planting a border in this style is actually really bold and brave, I think. Because normally in the garden you'd have the structure of trees and shrubs to be able to provide the architecture into a space. Whereas in the new perennial movement, you're entirely reliant upon perennials to give you that definition and structure. And Alice has done that brilliantly here, using plants like the phlomis, Phylicium and Cephalaria that are towering above and giving structure to the planting. We then have the rhythm of big clump-forming herbaceous perennials like the leucanthemum and the echinops that bounce all the way through the borders. And then a big part of this new movement is accepting the chaos and fluidity of the self-seeding plants. So you've got plants like Verbena bonariensis, Verbascum olympicum, and then poppies that have actually just come in from the nearby fields. And that makes this an ever-changing feast. The new perennial movement works its very best when you've got the space to be able to create big swathes of planting. But I only have a small garden at home, so what I often do is wander around these spaces and literally put my fingers together like this, because actually you can frame certain aspects of it, and wherever you look throughout this garden, there's pockets of inspiration. And this one here, I think, is particularly beautiful. This is a Macleia, which is adding structure. We've got the Echinacea, and we've got the Discampsia, which is adding some softness to the planting. They bounce all the way through the border, but individually, that makes a perfect frame. I love it so much, I might actually nick this combination for my own garden. You'd expect a border this impressive to be really high maintenance. But the beauty of this style of planting is that it can be just maintained by Alice, because we embrace the plants for what they do throughout the year. Plants like this clover and catenacci behind me look great when they're in flower, but now they're going to be left so that we can really appreciate their seed heads, which is brilliant for the birds and the pollinators and the wildlife. They also look great too, and they'll be left alone into the winter and cut back only just before the new growth starts to emerge. So Alice, these salvias have done quite well.
They're very happy, but we give them a good cut back, they'll have that nice flush. Those ones I did probably 6 weeks ago. I've slightly overplanted these salvias And come autumn, I will probably dig them up and divide them and move them into other areas of the garden.
I don't think that's ever a bad thing. Actually, I always overplant when I first plant anyway, because I'm a bit impatient and I want that instant gratification in year 1 or 2. But a plant that's grown this strong can always be moved around and spread into whatever gaps have appeared
Absolutely.
elsewhere.
Plants for free, and you can get more of that continuity flowing through the garden.
You've got not just these salvias, but quite a few others amongst the border, and I clocked you've got one of my favourite salvias, which is Salvia Schwellenberg. I really struggle to grow that one. It's doing really well here.
It seems to be very happy. It's nice because it's a little bit later than the Caradonna and Amethyst like this one, and then it just holds its colour.
It's such an unusual flavour. Sort of, if you think of a salvia, you probably think of these, but that's almost like an Astilbe flower.
It is, yeah.
It's quite incredible. And then the Ulginosas are maybe a bit too happy.
They've become a bit over-enthusiastic, but it's happy because of that mulch. It's shallow-rooted, so it just runs through the mulch without having to get down into the clay. So there are parts of it that I am going to have to reduce a little bit, curb its enthusiasm, but it's such a lovely bright blue and that bright green as well with the leaves. So I definitely wanted to have it in here, and it's loving it.
Alice's passion for this style of planting is clear to see. It's simple, it's bold, but boy, is it beautiful. And I think it's the perfect example of, if you like a particular style of planting or even just a combination of plants, then give it a go, because you could create something as beautiful as this.
I think you could really see the pleasure that Alice has got from creating that space. What I really love about that perennial movement was it stopped us just looking at plants in their perfect moment. You know, when you were selecting those herbaceous perennials, you're looking at shapes, forms, finishes. But on top of that, how was it going to be throughout the season? And actually, the grasses play a huge part. Got Haemolinea, and then you've got Miscanthus. But the first thing, what do they give you? Really strong vertical that push up through other plants. And then soft movement. They dance. I'll just leave these now, and none of this will be cut back until the spring. When you're buying plants, think about the form they're going to hold and then just leave them be. Not just because on a winter's day covered in frost, this looks a spectacle. But if I look closely, there you go. They never let you down, do they? See, look, there's ladybirds in there. It provides habitat and food, and I think even more so, you know, on the shorter, colder days, seeing the birds come in and feed. So when you start to buy your perennial plants to plant up your borders and you're thinking about the flower, maybe just a little bit further, you know. Ask the question, what is it going to be like through the winter months? Then put it in the ground and leave it be. If spending time in the garden through the colder winter months is really not your thing, you may well enjoy what Tom Crannan has done, literally in his front room.
Come on in, let me show you around. So in the house, there's 8 large terrariums in here. As regard to plants, in the house, I would imagine there's at least over 2,000, but that includes all the tiny little seedlings. They started off small, and it's sort of taken over, but in a nice way. Got a lot of begonias. Actually, at first, I thought begonias were the big and blousy plants that you'd see in the municipal car parks. But I saw an online article that showed iridescent plants. It just seemed something out of this world. I didn't even realise that was possible. This is my original favourite. This is Begonia pavonina. This is really what started it all out. I don't know if you can see, but the leaves shine blue. That's from Peninsular Malaysia. They are so varied and beautiful too. This is Begonia Bayek. That's from Borneo. Begonia Ruthier, Metallicolor, Promethea. But there are other species in here that don't even have a name. So people think that terrariums can be difficult. This is my first one I ever built, a large terrarium. This has got just species from Africa in it. It's all like garden plants, right plant, right place. If you set up properly, these plants are dead easy to look after. They're slow growing, so they're low maintenance. And I really do believe anybody can do it. One of the biggest things I do is creating my own seed. I concentrate on species seed because they're so vulnerable in the wild, but I also do dabble in creating my own hybrids. So this is Begonia leucoana from Taiwan. It's a really good houseplant. It's powdery mildew resistant, so it's a great plant to use for hybridizing. To bee the bee, I have a tuning fork. It's just a case of banging it, popping it against the flower, and that releases the pollen. And then I use one of my wife's makeup brushes and transfer the pollen across. It's pretty simple. Again, anybody can do it. I suppose you could say I'm just trialing new things all the time, experimenting different techniques. But I always keep things as low-tech as possible as well. This is an undescribed species from Myanmar. They're all little takeaway tubs. Lots of curries. I am proud. I love the creating process, and if you are saving a species at the same time, that's a great bonus. The most important things, especially with growing begonias, I've found is drainage. In these displays is using rock, wood and clay to create a planting pocket on the walls, if you can imagine putting your hands together, and that gives the plants supreme drainage. They want air around their roots, so I use a lot of materials you get in bonsai. I don't know if you can see here, the soil mix I use is very free draining. It's a case of just popping it in place, and then just to cover the roots and keep it in place. Pretty happy with that. You also don't want 100% sealed. You do want some airflow. A big fallacy that a lot of people say about begonias, you don't want to get the leaves wet. They'll melt. But then there's rain in the wild. They live in rainforests, there's high humidity. The difference is the leaves don't stay wet forever. There is the air movement.
What have you built?
This. My wife, Nicola, she's very, very supportive, but she wasn't the biggest fan of the plants when I first started bringing them in the house. This is what, it used to be the spare bedroom. It used to be my wife's office. Now it's my nursery. Yeah, so you can imagine Nicola working in an office in here with fluorescent lights behind her. Her office workers thinking, what the hell is being grown in here? I managed to convince her that terrariums were the answer. And now actually she has said she would miss them if they weren't here, which is quite surprising as she has very little interest in gardening.
I think it's quite a good way for him to just potter away and not be stressed about things.
I've struggled with anxiety and depression for a number of years, and this definitely focuses my mind. The act of caring for that plant as it grows and matures, especially growing from seed, it doesn't have to be a begonia, it could be a tomato, it could be anything, really does give you a feeling of self-worth and purpose as well.
Tom, the first thing I would say is you've got a very patient wife. But secondly, that took me back to being a 16-year-old, North Devon Parks Department, and us bedding out begonias. Wonderful. Talking about wonderful, look at my carrots. I sowed these about midsummer, and then you can see my frames, so I then net them over with a mesh, fine mesh, to protect them from the carrot fly, and I just walk away. So actually now, all I'm gonna do is tease out the bigger carrots, and these are a chantenay. Basically, it's short and stubby, but they are wonderfully sweet. And what's nice, because these are in a raised bed, it's quite light, airy soil, I didn't manure it. I can leave these through the winter months. If you're on heavier soil, then you would lift and then store them away. But look at those beautiful things. These are called red cord, and they've got a wonderful taste to them. You scrub that off, roast it, you know, maybe steam it. Yeah, wonderful. I'm already there. I think through the winter as well, you could cloche them over, protect them. But for me, they're just left. I come out and help myself whenever we fancy carrots. So there you go. Staying on the theme of root vegetables, the winter staple on a Sunday roast in the Frost household, yeah, horseradish sauce. And growing your own horseradish, there is a magic to it. You plant it out going into the spring, and you buy it as thongs. Yes, you heard me correctly, thongs. So just be careful when you're ordering it, obviously. And they come like little bits of root, and then you literally drop them in. And I'm gonna dig some up now. This is either gonna be brilliant, or you're all gonna absolutely laugh at me. You can dig it up from October, but earlier on in the year, that taste is milder. It's got a huge, great taproot that's a bit like a parsnip, really. And then what you do is you'll leave some in the ground, and then that will start to grow again. So there you go, look at that. Yes, if I clean that down now, absolutely lovely. You know, for me, whether it's a horseradish cream, a full-on sauce, or I grate it over different things just to add that warmth. All I would add to that is some people worry about this because it can be a bit of a thug. It can start travelling. So growing it in a raised bed like this works really well. But I'm quite proud of that. Growing your own veg for the table is one of the joys in life. But in August, Rekha went to an allotment where sharing, learning and friendship are as important as the produce.
Today, I'm in Sheffield at Woodseats Allotments, a vibrant inner city site with more than 100 plots spread across nearly 10 acres.
I've missed being on an allotment. I'm so excited to be here. I can't wait to see what the community here does and what they grow, what they eat, what they cook. But it's just a joy to be back on an allotment site.
What makes this place stand out is the way they've opened their gates wider, creating a community hub where skills, knowledge, and the produce are all shared. These allotments are about more than just growing your own. Here, it really is fork to fork. Allotments are more popular than ever, with waiting lists that can stretch on for years. But Woodseeds have come up with a way to give new gardeners a foot on the ladder: starter plots. These small spaces give new growers the chance to get stuck in straight away, to learn, experiment, and grow in confidence.
If you know what you're doing, great. If you don't, there's always usually somebody around to say and advice, and it's just a very welcoming place to give you an idea on what the commitment is.
Yeah.
And it's your bit to put on and make the mark that you want to do. I no longer work on here. This is Penny's now. Moved on so that somebody else can have a go.
Yeah.
And I'm a co-worker now for a gentleman who can't get about as much. So yes, I've learnt a lot with the gardening side of it, but it's just a lovely place to be.
Is there a special plant that you say you started here and now taken to...
Courgettes. Courgettes are a winner, aren't they?
Yes.
And it's just exciting when you've started something from seed and it grows and then it produces something. It's good for the mind, body and soul, really.
Chris's story shows how starter plots can give a great taste of allotment life. But not everyone starts small. Some growers, like Emily, jump straight in with a full-size plot. She's only had hers for 6 months, but in that short time, got it working.
So you're a first-time allotmenteer.
Yes.
Did this not faze you? The size of it and what you've just taken on, the challenge?
It's been difficult. I started with a lot of clearing. It was very overgrown. Lots of trips to the tip, lots of basically covering over the areas that I couldn't work. Start small and move on bit by bit, because it is a full-size plot. There's a lot to do.
I like what you've done. Tell me, what are you growing?
A lot of squash, because obviously I missed the first growing season. So I've been able to get in some rainbow chard. I've got pattypan squash, acorn squash, and beans and cabbages. I've got potatoes behind us, strawberries and chives, some onions down here. Hopefully they'll survive the heat.
You have definitely got the allotment bug, I can see. Exactly how I was many years ago. You've got that, and it's a joy to see that. It's a joy to see a piece of land that wasn't worked on for a while come back to life again, and I think I like that.
This is the greenhouse.
Oh, I've been admiring it from the outside. Oh my goodness, this is beautiful.
Yeah, lots of tomatoes this year. And the imposter squash, as I'm calling it.
Why, what was it to be?
A loofah.
Oh, right, okay.
But that's what poor labelling.
It's a spaghetti squash.
It's definitely a spaghetti squash. It's fallen off the vine, but is turning yellow, so that's a good sign that I'll still get to eat it.
And you've still got more fruit coming?
Yes.
How are you managing to attract pollinators in here?
They're not. I'm doing it all by hand. I've got a little paintbrush.
Ah, okay. Do your windows open? Because it'll help with the airflow, and it might even allow the insects to come in.
Okay.
To help the pollinating side of things. So I think
more help the better.
Yes, of course. Yeah, rather than the brush.
Growing your own is only the start. The real magic happens when the food is cooked and shared right here on site. It's not every day you find an allotment where the plots double up as kitchens. But just along the path, Pat and Forrid are turning their harvest into a feast.
Hello.
Hi, Rekha.
Is this what it's all about?
Yes,
Cutting
it
an
is,
allotment. I can smell it as I walked in. It's really nice.
It's a healthy lunch.
I'm enjoying your allotment. How long have you had it?
In a couple of weeks, a year. So it's been a lot of work, but it's coming on. Lots of stuff.
It's looking great. What's your secret?
A lot of help from the neighbours.
Yeah?
A great community, great set of people.
Forrid, tell me a little bit about your plot. How did growing come about for you?
I'm Bangladeshi, so coming from a family of farmers, I grow uri, which is hyacinth bean, and okra, and the absolute epitome of a Bangladeshi vegetable, hodu.
Oh, nice.
After 8 years of trying, I've got my first
You didn't give up, and that's the whole idea about allotments. You don't give up, you keep trying.
And every year is learning something.
Yes.
So it's, you know, whether it's too hot, too cold, too wet, too dry.
Yeah.
That's the good thing about growing stuff is you learn as you go.
Yes. Yeah.
And the good thing about being on an allotment site with people like Pat and others is there's always something to learn from someone else who's had a go.
I think I get a lot more from it than what put in, so you do tend to put more in
without doubt.
because you're getting plenty out.
And I think that's the difference between an allotment and a garden. An allotment is a community of gardeners who learn from each other, who share with each other, and particularly this site where we have such a great community spirit.
Spending time with Pat and Forrid shows how much this place is about more than just growing. It's about friendship, support, and sharing what you have. And at the very heart of that spirit is the hub.
This is the hub.
Yes, welcome. It's the work of lots and lots and lots of people.
I do like what you've done. There's so much creativity.
Yes.
Sarah, tell me, how important are community spaces like this?
They're amazing. I think it's bigger than just, you're doing something that's bigger than you as an individual. So you go to your plot and, you know, you grow your own vegetables and things, but this is, you're doing it for everybody.
With green spaces getting harder to find, allotments like wood seats feel more precious than ever. They're a living proof that when people share their time, skill, and energy, the results go far beyond what grows in the soil.
I have had the most wonderful day on this allotment site. They have been so welcoming. They've given me so much joy knowing that they don't just share what they grow, they share what they do. And that's what allotments are all about. It's not about growing, that's half the story. The other half is about the community.
I really love early broad beans. So, what I do, rather than planting direct out in October, November, because even where I live, in a dry part of the country, you know, the winters are getting wetter. Now, this time of year, I take little modules, could be pots, and all I've got is peat-free compost. And what I'll do is just push these in 4 or 5 centimetres in there. If you have a look at that little black line, if you push that downwards into the compost, cover those off, just top those off very slightly, and then all they're really going to have now is water. They'll go into the greenhouse, and then probably within a month they'll be up, well rooted, and I can pop them out in the garden. It means that I've got a really good head start to the early broad beans. Well, I'm afraid that is it from us. So, bye-bye, and we'll see you next time.